Hey, what is up, people? Skywalker Hendrix here, back with another video for you guys today. And today we are looking at ARC Trooper 5s by Hot Toys. This figure is long overdue. Collectors have been clamoring for a ARC Trooper 5s in the Hot Toys line for as long as Hot Toys started doing clones, essentially. This is a fan favorite clone trooper, and yeah, just long overdue. One of the best arcs in the Clone Wars series. One of the few clones that figures out that they are being controlled by chips long before Order 66 occurs. So yeah, super cool to finally get this guy in the line. And he comes with a pretty awesome head sculpt, and yeah, just very excited to get this guy out of the box. But taking a quick look at the packaging here, standard Hot Toys packaging. We all know what they do by now, but just some really cool shots of the figure inside. Yeah, let's get this guy out of the package. All right, now getting this guy out of the box and laid out in his tray, he is looking very nice presentation-wise. But he does come with a nice little tray of extra hands, a rocket launcher, and two of the thermal detonators. Very cool. This is pretty standard with the clone troopers in the Hot Toys line. And then you get kind of his weaponry around him with some nice blaster pistols there. We do get his ARC Trooper backpack, which is very nice. That'll connect via magnet. And then we do get his Rangefinder. Nice that they didn't have this on him already, as it could potentially break during transit. But yeah, very cool to have that be swap out piece. And we do have the magnetic ammo pouch. Very cool. I tend to not display these on my figures. I just find them to be a little large for I don't know, they stick out in a sore way, in my opinion. But, obviously you'd want it to be accurate, so very cool that they include those. And then we get his standard clone blaster rifle there. Also very nice, but stuff we've seen a million times by now if you have any clones. And then we get this data pad, which is very cool. This is a newer accessory for Hot Toys, and yeah, it looks fantastic. The only other figure that I believe has this is the Commando Boss, and yeah, looked great with him. I think this one actually looks a little bit better. I like those buttons there, and just very cool to have something that he can hold. I always find it very cool when they throw in accessories that these figures can use besides weapons, obviously. And then we do get a very cool accessory, in my opinion, even though I probably won't display it on this figure. But we do get the Temuera Morrison head sculpt, clone head sculpt. Obviously this is 5s, and distinctly known for his 5 tattoo, if this would focus. Very nice. This head sculpt is insane. And of course it does have the moving eyes, but honestly I think the eye position is pretty perfect out of the package. And yeah, just a very, very nice head sculpt. Very accurate looking, in my opinion, based on the animation. Others would say this is an inaccurate clone hairdo, but one could argue that it's a cartoon. So yeah, but Hot Toys obviously killed it, bringing that animated head sculpt into a live action representation. Just the skin texture, everything on this, immaculate. Such a good head sculpt, and it is so good that I will show you guys a little later in the video. I am figuring out a way to display this in the collection, even though I won't be displaying it on this 5s. So stay tuned to see what I do there. But yeah, first impressions for 5s himself. Absolutely fantastic. Hot Toys has really just nailed their weathering. I mean, look at that. I love the more vibrant blue, opposed to the regular 501st blue, which I guess is more in line with this color, but even that's a little bit more saturated. I just love his baby blue design. It's just really, really well done here, in my opinion. And like I said, the weathering. Look at that weathering on his little shin guards there. This figure looks amazing. They always kill it with the ARC Troopers, and yeah, this is no exception. We all knew that a 5s would be pretty imminent when we first got the ARC Trooper mold. So yeah, it really was worth the wait, in my opinion. Now, I did want to show how to change out the rangefinder here. So in the Hot Toys box, you do get this little tool, which is for moving eyes, essentially, but I never have used this to move the eyes. But what you do use it for is to pop out that little earpiece. You do see it up in there, and it is compatible like with previous clone helmet attachments. Like you could put the like binocs on him, or like the flashlights that have come with Rex and Jesse. And yeah, so that is just very cool that you can attach other pieces to the helmet. But yeah, just stick this up in there, pop that out, make sure not to lose that little ear cover piece, and then the rangefinder just pops in there. Alright, and that's what it looks like with the rangefinder in place there. That looks absolutely fantastic. Really, really nice. And the rangefinder is immovable if you do want to, you know, push it down. Mine is a little stuck, but be careful because it is a very thin piece of plastic there. But yes, it does move down, so if you want to display him, you know, looking at something or whatever you want to do, and just, you know, like I said, be careful. Mine is a little tight, so I would just rotate it as close to the base as possible. But just taking a closer look at that weathering on the helmet, and just the detail, absolutely fantastic. And something that Hot Toys actually went back to fix was the mouthpiece on this figure. When they first had kind of announced it, it was technically an inaccurate version of the Phase 1.5 helmet, which this is. This was kind of the first prototype, in my opinion, for the Phase 2 helmet, because when he was wearing this helmet, all the other clones were still Phase 1, so I think that's very cool. And yeah, you could argue, you could wish they threw in a just plain Phase 2 5's helmet, because he does swap out eventually this helmet with just a regular Phase 2 helmet, with the same deco on it, of course. But I don't mind that they didn't. You know, they might do a Phase 2 specific 5s in the future, but I think technically his deco on his like the paint on his armor looks a little bit different for Phase 2 as well. So either way, people would complain, so I'm fine them just going with this helmet. I do think this helmet is a little bit more iconic, and it just goes more in line with the Echo release that, you know, pairs obviously perfect with this guy here. So yeah, I really like the inclusion of this helmet. And also something cool to note is they did give this guy a skin tone neck, so that when you do put the head sculpt on him, he doesn't have the, you know, black sock basically all the way up. And obviously I didn't click this down, but just showing you what he would look like with the unmasked head on. I think it looks absolutely fantastic, and really was tempting me at first to display him like this holding his helmet, but I just can't. I love his helmet design so much, and the paint on his helmet. I love that Rishi eel deco on the forehead there, and just an iconic helmet, so I could not not display this helmet on him, but it made me think of a way I could display this head sculpt. So let's just do that real quick. So this is actually something I thought of pretty quickly after, really wanting to display this head sculpt. And obviously Fives is known for his ARC Trooper gear, but he also is known for figuring out that all the clones have chips in their head. And I'd have to go back and rewatch. I do know that most of the time he is in the plain Phase 2 armor. He does have his head shaved, as he's it might be the whole time he's in the armor he has his head shaved, but I still think this is a cool representation of that story arc for him, and I just think it looks really cool. You could also say in your head that this is him before he painted the armor, just in his shiny, reg uniform. So either way, I think it is a cool way to use this head sculpt, and almost even more so when the Echo, when I get the Echo in hand, you could just use that head sculpt as like just a generic, clone trooper head sculpt, because it doesn't have the, identifying tattoo on his head. But yeah, this is just cool, and this is a unique way I will display this head sculpt, as I do have quite a few of these all-white troopers. So I think I'm going to get another one to replace the plain Phase 2 that I had this as. But nonetheless, I still think this is a really cool display option for this head sculpt. Alright, now getting into a few comparisons here. Here he is with the original Rex, and yes, this may not be super accurate. Rex would technically be Phase 1 still, but this still is a very, viable display option. I think a lot of people probably will display him with Phase 2, just based on how the helmet looks in general. But yeah, and I do have the Ahsoka Phase 1 and 2 Rex release. I just haven't reviewed that yet, but I will come back around and do Fives compared to that figure. So stay tuned for that review. I'm very, very excited to get that Phase 1 Rex on display. But for now, or for anyone else that does not plan on getting that Rex and has the original, like right here, still a very good display option. Alright, and here he is with ARC Trooper Jesse, a very, very nice figure. And yeah, they share a lot of the same parts, as Jesse was the first ARC Trooper to be released. So pretty much everything except the helmet is reuse here. But obviously they're clones, like it's supposed to be reuse. So it's not like bad reuse or, anything of note. But yeah, they nailed it with the ARC Troopers in my opinion. Yes, I have seen some people complain about the pauldrons, that they're just a little stiff, and yeah, I agree. Or, maybe they could be just a tad smaller. I do agree there too, but I do think, like, in a dynamic pose like Jesse is in, like, he still looks really good in my opinion, and, like, on the shelf, I think it works. And but not the most, like, dynamic figures are gonna pose in your collection, but I do think they get the job done for sure. So at the end of the day, guys, this Clone Trooper Fives is absolutely fantastic. Like I said, this was just a figure we were waiting for so long, and me personally, Fives is probably in, like, probably my top 5, maybe even like my 3rd favorite Clone Trooper ever. So getting this figure just was a dream come true for me. I actually highly debated. I kind of have a rule in my collection that I'm not going back to buy any, older Sideshow figures, or even like some of like the old Hot Toys. Like, I don't know, like I did it a few times early on, and I just always ended up selling those figures pretty quickly. So I just never, I always had the mindset like Hot Toys will make it eventually if, I feel like I've proven myself right in that standpoint. In my collection, I've gotten a lot of figures that I wanted to buy, maybe the old Sideshow version or even the older Hot Toys versions, and I'm just, let's wait, get new versions of those from Hot Toys, and it's definitely paid off here. So if you are a Clone Trooper fan, if you collect 501st, if you collect Clone Wars, anything like that, this is a must-have for you. I think if you are just a Star Wars fan in general and just love cool clones or cool characters, this is definitely worth a pickup in my opinion. Yeah, this guy is fantastic. I mean, the weathering alone on this guy and the shade of blue that they chose is just so beautiful, and I've just been really enamored with it. The detail, just everything on this guy is absolutely immaculate. So yeah, this is definitely worth a pickup in my opinion. But that's going to do it for today's video, so I hope you all enjoyed. And like I said, I have tons of figures in a pile waiting to be reviewed, so stay tuned. Just to name a few, I have the 212 Airborne that I need to review. That one's probably going to be next. I do have both Ahsokas from the Ahsoka series, the Clone Wars flashback Ahsoka, along with the Ahsoka the White. Very excited to get those open. Also, the Clone Wars flashback Anakin just came in, and I get all my figures from Pop Collectibles, so shout out to Pop Collectibles. I get pretty much all my figures the week of release in Hong Kong, so quite a few months before Sideshow even starts shipping a lot of these figures. I've had 5s here for probably a month, so yeah, just shout out to Pop Collectibles. They are absolutely amazing and have always treated me the best. They're just amazing in my opinion. But let's see, I also have the Phase 1 and 2 Rex from the Ahsoka series. A lot of Ahsoka figures to review, so stay tuned for those. Yeah, tons of figures to review. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed. As always, guys, may the Force be with you. Ayy.